Hi there. My name is Ian McNaughton. This is the Ian McNaughton Show. If you are listening to this or seeing this, I am recording this at about 10 after 11 Pacific on Thursday night. I work in less than 12 hours at 9 a.m. Pacific, and I figured I'd do this podcast because PlayStation was pissing me off and I got to write this blog. So I figured, what the hell? I'll just do a podcast as well. I like swearing on the podcast, even though it's going to get demonetized on YouTube. That's okay. I'm not making any money on it anyway. So what the hell? This podcast is gonna be on the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix in Imola this weekend. This is gonna be the second Grand Prix in Imola in the last 2 years. They were in Imola last year, I want to say in the fall, in the winter, maybe not in the winter, but like October. I feel like they went to Imola, and it was cold. It was kind of a fall type day, and now we're gonna get a spring type day in Imola as the weather. Let me just pull it up here. Is I think it's gonna be wet this weekend. It is scheduled to be raining on Sunday with a temperature of 57 degrees Fahrenheit. So that'll be fun for all the drivers who are taking part in the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix this weekend in Imola. Let's get into it. So first, again, we're at Imola. Obviously, it was the home to I can't remember what the actual name of the old uh, event that was at Imola before. Give me 1 second here. San Marino. That's the San Marino Grand Prix. Obviously, Imola used to host that in between 1981 2006. I had to just pull that up quickly. And again, second time in as many years that we're seeing it. This year is because they aren't going back to China. They didn't go to China last year. They're not going back to China this year. I don't know if it's because the lease is up and they haven't re-upped it. I don't know if they're looking at re-upping it. I don't know if the F1 is looking to go back to China anytime soon. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily COVID related either. I just feel like the travel is obviously a lot for many teams. Many of the teams are based in the UK, so it can be quite costly just going to China for a weekend, maybe two. It's a fine track. I don't mind the Chinese Grand Prix. I don't mind its track. I prefer Imola's, but that's just because I guess I'm a purist and I just like the history that comes with Imola. So we'll see if the F1 ever goes back to China or not. I'm not too sure, but nevertheless, we're at Imola this weekend. The big news regarding the circuit is they extended the DRS zone. I don't if you watched the race last year, you would know that part of the issue that drivers were having was a shorter DRS zone. So I wish I could share on a map how this works because it's much better. But essentially, what it is that after I believe it's turn 18 is when the DRS started or the activation. No, probably the detection point was after turn 18, and then the starting point of the DRS was turn 19 essentially, and it was a very short DRS zone last year at Imola. Now I believe the activation point is being moved back to turn 17. So if you don't know, the final two turns at Imola, it's two left. So essentially, you do a left into another left. It's essentially like doing a 180. But pretty much instead of the DRS activation point being after turn 18, the final turn or that second left, the DRS detection point is now going to be before the first left. And then after the last left or the final turn, then the DRS starting point will go. So it's extended. I'm trying to find the actual numbers here if they have it. DRS activation zone has also moved back 60 meters before turn 19. So basically, last year it was the finish line at Imola. That's when the DRS zone started, and now it's 60 meters before turn 19. So that's the big news coming into the Imola circuit. Obviously, it's been 3 weeks since we've had any F1 racing. Of course, Lewis Hamilton won the Bahrain Grand Prix 3 weeks ago at the Sakir circuit. And now we're going to go back to Imola. He won won at Imola last year. So we'll see if Lewis Hamilton can do it again this year. He is not the favorite according to DraftKings. According to DraftKings, your Grand Prix winner is Max Verstappen. He's got plus 125 odds to win. Lewis Hamilton has plus 150. Valtteri Bottas with 1,000. Sergio Perez at plus 1,400. So pretty much the 2 Red Bulls, 2 Mercedes. They have the best odds of winning. And I get why DraftKings would do that. Obviously, if you didn't watch the Bahrain Grand Prix, it was a battle between Verstappen and Hamilton in the closing laps. Verstappen did overtake Hamilton, but he went outside of the track limits to do so. He essentially went out of bounds, came back in, cut off Hamilton, and then Verstappen gave his spot back. It was not an ideal spot where Verstappen gave up the lead. It was on it was on a straight essentially. So basically he overtook him on a turn on a right-hander, and then by the time that he was told to give up the spot, it was on a straight, and then Hamilton went by him and just could never catch up to him. Kudos to Lewis Hamilton, by the way, in the Bahrain Grand Prix for just saving his car somehow between fuel and tires and not pushing it all the way, but still saving it. Job well done by Sir Lewis Hamilton. And in case there was any doubt who's the best driver on the circuit, it's not even close now. It's Lewis Hamilton, without a doubt. And he showed us why in the go watch the final 10 laps of the Bahrain Grand Prix and tell me that Lewis Hamilton isn't the best driver on the circuit right now, because he's just incredible. He is an awesome driver, a smart driver, gutsy, knowledgeable, whatever terms you want to use to describe Lewis Hamilton as a driver, as a talented driver. We call him the Michael Jordan of F1. I almost can't disagree. I mean, I know there's always going to be a debate between Schumacher and Hamilton, and we'll never know just because of how different the cars are. Lewis is obviously driving one of the best cars on the circuit, which helps, but he's also Lewis Hamilton, and I don't know that any other driver in that Mercedes could get the job done. We saw last year at the Sakir Grand Prix, George Russell driving the Mercedes and just couple mix-ups, and he should have won the race last year, and instead it was Sergio Perez. But Sergio Perez, he's got a chance to win this weekend in Imola as well. Other things to watch, keep in mind, the McLarens, they were running pretty equally in Bahrain. We'll see how they do this weekend. I think it's still a bit of a growing kind of feeling out process with Norris and Ricciardo. I feel like it's like that with Ferrari too. You can make that argument, but Norris and Ricciardo are still getting used to one another. They're still kind of getting used to the new, McLarens as well. They got different engines this year, being that they're Mercedes and not Renaults. So hopefully that, smooths out and gets better. I don't know how often they'll be competing for podiums this year. They should be at least. And, I like McLaren's chances to at least get a podium this weekend, whether it's Norris or Ricciardo. According to DraftKings, they're both at plus 5,000 to win the Grand Prix. They're both at plus 1,200 to finish in the top 2. Norris is plus 500 for a top 3. Ricciardo is plus 450. So Ricciardo has better odds to finish inside the top 3. I think McLaren, I'm not too worried about McLaren with the Norris Ricciardo issues that might be at play here. I think they're just, getting used to one another. They'll figure it out. They're 2 really smart drivers. I'm not too worried about McLaren. Sort of the same thing with Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc, he's got the same odds as Lando Norris this weekend. Carlos Sainz actually is really surprised. He's way back in the pack. So he's plus 10,000. So that's like 100 to win, 100 to 1. to win this week. It might be 1,000 to 1 to win this weekend. Plus 3,000 to finish in the top 2, plus 1,400 to finish in the top 3. I really like Carlos Sainz. I've really come to enjoy him the last few weeks. Just in my film study and watching him and watching the tape of him. He mentioned at the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix a few weeks ago, he said, I didn't want to push the car too hard because I'm still getting used to it. I'm just trying to, again, feel it out, see what it's like, just react to it. He's only been driving that car. I don't know how many actual laps, miles he's got on that car. I'm guessing probably now close to 150, 200. And that's, you might think that's actually quite a few for someone like him. But I mean, he's still, he doesn't, not nearly as close as like the Verstappens and the Hamiltons and the Bottases. As he's still trying to figure out his car. He's still learning it. And I'm impressed that he's honest about that. I'm impressed with the fact that Carlos Sainz, he's not afraid to say what he thinks, and he said, I didn't give it my all today. I didn't give it my all today, and he said that after Bahrain, and I'm glad he said that because I think that's what a smart driver does. I don't think he tries to get it all in one race. I think he's trying to make this a long-lasting partnership with Ferrari, and I feel like it would have gone horribly wrong had he crashed or had the car stalled, engine failure, whatever. If the car didn't fulfill its end of the commitment, then we'd be talking about a whole different thing than both the Ferraris finishing 10th for the first time since 2019. Like, they both got points. The Ferraris did in Bahrain. And that's awesome. Like, that's what they should be shooting for every weekend. They should be shooting for the fucking podium every weekend, not just top 10s. But after how awful they were last year, at least they're in the top 10. I should mention Yuki Sonoda, who is my boy. I picked him up in F1 Fantasy this weekend, and I'm really excited to see what he has to offer. He also got I think he got 10th, 9th or 10th anyways in the Bahrain Grand Prix. He got points. In his first career F1 race, which you love to see. He's kind of the second driver at AlphaTauri, and man, he drove really well in that car. I was really impressed. It sounded like he was enjoying himself too, which is nice. And how can you not when it's your first race ever in the F1 and you're driving a pretty good AlphaTauri car? So shout out Yuki Sonoda, and of course his teammate Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly is in the top 5 for GP winning odds this weekend. I like Gasly. I don't know if he's getting a bit too much media hype. I mean, he is driving an AlphaTauri, which isn't supposed to be as good as the Red Bull, parent company. But I mean, there's an argument that AlphaTauri is the 4th best team on circuit right now. I mean, you have the Ferraris, I'd say, as the 5th. I'd say the McLarens are the 3rd best. I'd say the Red Bulls are the 2nd best, and I say the Mercedes are the best team. So maybe AlphaTauri over Ferrari. It's still really early in the year. Like, we've only had one race, and part of that is me basing a pick on perception, which I shouldn't be doing. But I mean, that AlphaTauri looked really good. I'm excited to see how Sonoda does in his second race, in his follow-up race. I'm excited to see how Pierre Gasly does. He suffered, I believe, floor damage, or he had damage with I believe, a first lap mix-up with Daniel Ricciardo in Bahrain, and he had to fold early. I believe he had to call it a race 2 or 3 laps before the actual final laps and before the checkered flag. So, there's motivation for Pierre Gasly to perform well this weekend. I'm excited to see how that goes. He should be really exciting to watch, as well as his partner Yuki Sonoda. And I'm also going to throw out there. I'll throw out the Aston Martins because, I mean, I don't know. I want Sebastian Vettel to do well. I don't think the Aston Martin car is that good. I know it was struggling in preseason testing. It struggled this past weekend, or the past race, excuse me. Stroll might have got a top 10, but Vettel I know was having problems. It was having issues. I just wonder. I mean, I want to root for Vettel. I want to root for Stroll. I don't know that car is actually that good, if we're being honest. I really have doubts about that car being good. Yeah, Stroll got 10th with his Aston Martin Mercedes. Yuki Sonoda got 9th. I really have concerns with the Aston. I'm not sure that it's a good car. I think they're still working on it. I don't know that it's. It doesn't feel like the same Racing Point car we saw last year. Now, granted, Racing Point took a lot of stuff from Mercedes. It was kind of just the pink Mercedes, as they were calling it. It feels a little different this year. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there's anything to base that around. Just throwing that out there. Watch for the Aston Martins, and if they both finish the race, I don't think both of them are going to get points. I feel like one of them's going to miss out on a top 10, but we'll see. That's kind of my hot take with that's kind of my big hot take, and maybe kind of hot take with the F1 is the Aston's not doing that well. I don't think they are that good as a car. But we'll see how they do in Imola this weekend, and maybe I'm proven wrong. Fernando Alonso, he finished second to last because he retired early. He had a brake failure, I believe. Slightly underwhelming for myself in his Alpine debut. I was kind of expecting more, especially being the lead driver, being the head honcho for Alpine Renault. And I know Renault had a really good car last year with Danny Rick. Ricardo got 2 podiums, at least, if not 3, with Renault last year. Esteban Ocon got a podium. And Ocon, he was okay. I didn't think he was that noticeable either, but it was more the Alonso, the return, coming back. I don't know. Was not impressed with him either. Didn't think he was that good. Didn't think he was that noticeable. He's someone who's really got to step it up this weekend, and maybe he will because he's been in Imola. He knows Imola. He probably really enjoys Imola, and I need to see more from Fernando Alonso this weekend. Not so much Esteban Ocon. He's still kind of a young buck who's still learning and still trying to get better. But Fernando Alonso, I definitely need to see more out of Fernando Alonso, without a doubt. And then also I want to give a quick shout out to both the Alphas. Kimi Räikkönen finished 11th. Antonio Giovinazzi finished 12th. I think they're a good pairing for one another. I think the Alphas are looking a little bit better this year compared to last year, and not just the livery. I think the car is actually better with Alpha. I don't expect them to finish in the points very often. I think it was actually a really good performance, just the fact that they got 11th and 12th in Bahrain 3 weeks ago. There's a good chance they could finish in that same spot again, but more realistically, I think they're going to be dropping down in the points. But kudos to both the Alphas for finishing 11th and 12th in Bahrain. And then, of course, I got to talk about the Haas team quickly. Nikita Mazepin has the same amount of laps completed as I do, and he is an F1 driver, and I'm not. Mazepin did a Spinito in the third turn at Bahrain. He got on the throttle too early and basically just sent it into the barricade. So that was cool. That was great. I don't really feel any resentment towards that, or I'm kind of glad he crashed because there's no reason why he should be in the F1 anyways. So that was cool seeing Nikita Mazepin spin. We'll see if he does it again in Imola. Look out for the chicane, turn 1 chicane at Imola. That's a good place for him to fucking just send it into the barricades once again. And Mick Schumacher, he just had the regular, just doing the best he can. I'm just going out to race. I'm going to do the best I can, and he finished 16th, which fine. I mean, he's not going to be. I don't think Haas is really. Haas, if I'm correct, they have one more upgrade before this weekend, which they did, and then that's it. Like this is the maxed out Haas car that you're seeing this year. They're focused on 2022. They have no interest in competing this year, to be frank. They're more just about taking Mazepin's money from his dad, growing the team that way, and basically developing drivers. Mazepin more than Mick Schumacher. I think Mick Schumacher is a much better driver than Nikita Mazepin is. So I don't think they're worried about Schumacher so much, more Nikita Mazepin. But no, Schumacher had a wonderful race in Bahrain. I think he'll have another good race in Imola this weekend. I'm excited to see how he does. It's too bad that he has to race in essentially a Russian car. But you know what? I think there's something to be said for just, following orders, just doing as you're told. You're going out to race every weekend or every 3 weekends whenever they have a race, and just doing your job. And that's what Mick Schumacher's doing, and kudos to him. My picks to win this weekend, I have Lewis Hamilton winning. I can't go against Lewis. I think it'll be tough to beat him, barring some, some personal thing that Lewis does to himself. I think it's tough to beat Lewis Hamilton as Lewis, like when you're going up against Lewis Hamilton. Now, if Hamilton gets a time penalty or he does, something stupid that costs him a win, then he does something stupid that costs him a win. But just in terms of Lewis Hamilton going against the entire field, I'll take my chances with Lewis Hamilton. My prediction for rounding out the podium spots, I'm going to say Valtteri Bottas gets second. Not really a big, hot take there. I think he's still a phenomenal driver. He drives one of the best cars on the circuit. I think he's going to be really excited to go to Imola as well. I feel like he had success at Imola last year. I'm going to pull up Valtteri Bottas and see what his F1 results look like, because I feel like he had a good result in Imola last year. Yeah, he finished second last year in Imola. Like he probably will finish second, if not maybe first. Who knows? I got him finishing second, and then third. I'm gonna go on a bit of a surprise here. I'm gonna go with Sergio Perez. I got Perez finishing third this weekend in Imola. This, I don't know. I have not a bad feeling. I just have a gut reaction that Verstappen is either going to crash or he's going to get himself into trouble. I don't know why. I have no good reason to base that off of. I think he's a phenomenal driver, one of the best on the grid right now. I just don't know why. I don't think I have a bad feeling for Max Verstappen. Now, I can't wait until he proves me wrong this weekend and goes and wins the race. That would also be cool. I like it when people prove me wrong, because what do I know? I'm just some talking head. But I like Max Verstappen to finish outside of the top three. I like Sergio Perez to finish inside the top three. So it'll be Lewis Hamilton winning, Valtteri Bottas second, Sergio Perez third. Those are my picks to win this weekend. I'm just going to see if there's any cool hot takes or things I think you should bet on potentially. Race props. I guess I'll go through some of these. Daniel Ricciardo, driver to be classified. Yeah, they'll both be classified. Let me go head to head. Best finishing position, Gasly or Sonoda. I'm going to say Pierre Gasly, although Sonoda's a plus 170 against Gasly. Lewis Hamilton should finish better. George Russell should finish better over Nicholas Latifi. You know, I've hardly thought about Nicholas Latifi like since F1's been back. I can't see him staying with Williams after the season. So we'll see. Yeah, it's basically just head to head among teammates. If there's one that I like more than the other. Just going here. You know, Carlos Sainz. This is according to DraftKings. Carlos Sainz at plus 160. To finish higher than Charles Leclerc. I wouldn't mind that. That's not a bad risk to take. That's not a bad bet. Sebastian Vettel plus 115 over Lance Stroll. Yeah, I like that too. Just to finish ahead. You know, you can make some money if you are interested in the gambling. And I'm not suggesting you should be gambling. I'm not saying it's a great idea. I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying if you do gamble, if you are interested in making money through gambling, the F1 is a really good sport because they're not totally paying attention to the F1 so much. They're just looking more at numbers, not at the actual racing. So just saying, if you're interested, maybe throw a little money on F1. Just putting that out there. That's the Ian McNaughton show. That's the Emilia Romagna. Did I say that right? I don't think I did. What's the actual name of this race? Emilia Romagna. Yeah, that sounds about right. Grand Prix from Imola. I am not in Imola. I am in Vancouver. It is dark out. It's not going to rain. It's actually going to be sunny here and raining in Italy. How about that? That's the Ian McNaughton show for, I'm recording this Thursday. It'll come out Friday. That's for the Grand Prix preview. We might have a recap on Monday, depending on the timing and the schedule. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping to get some podcasts out that week as well. But anyways, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, check out our YouTube channel. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify or iTunes if you're watching it. If you're watching me just ramble on like an idiot, which I mean, I don't know why you would, but if you want to help us get YouTube views, that's cool as well. Greatly appreciated. Thank you once again for listening. Have a good rest of your day, night, whenever you're listening. Peace out.